I just heard that a few members left Carbonation in the wake of all the scandals that were taking place in the community. There were several people on YouTube who have been exposing them. There were several channels that have been created to basically dismantle the public opinion about carbonation. And I would say it doesn't give me any pleasure to hear that the movement that the brother is trying to start is waning, that it is dwindling, right? It doesn't give me any pleasure because as I said in a previous video, what they are trying to do on the surface level is actually an important thing. Forming a community, living in a communal, collective, um, living as a village is very important. But the way in which they went about it sort of um, caused there to be a backlash because on the surface, many people will look at it and think that it's a cult, a group of people separating from their families, moving around the world in the jungles of various countries, you know. So it just really caused me to reflect about um, why we were actually criticizing them, you know. And for me, primarily, the most obvious thing was the diseases that were being um, broadcasted about. Many people made videos. I made a video when I first heard about the allegations that there was diseases in the carbonation community. I think this scared many people. I think this destroyed the credibility that they would have established through their video series. Um, but what I can say, an organization of black men and women working together, trying to impart knowledge, right? That's a very noble aspiration. But the whole issue for me is the atmosphere, the controlled atmosphere. The notion that, he's going to elevate himself to the Christ and pronounce judgment on people, things of that nature really gave me the opinion that it's a cult. And so, um, but I think I had a few other opinions that kind of diverged from public opinion, right? But let me just explain what I mean. Um, if we criticize carbonation for living in the jungle, if we criticize carbonation for not wearing clothes, um, for eating of all vegan diet, um, for separating from society, what will we say about the tribes in Africa who never embraced the modern society? Are we saying that they are uncivilized? So, I mean, I understand we might want to call them uncivilized if they move from a society um, like the modern society. They move away from their respective countries to live in a more rural atmosphere. Some people would think that that is uncivilized. But when I speak about carbonation, if you notice, that was never my critique. If they want to grow their dreadlocks, eat healthy, live in the woods or the wilderness, you know, for many people around the world, white, black, Hispanic, Asian, that's a very intriguing prospect because if you consider it, the ability to go off the grid, that's the aspirations of millions of humans around the world. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to criticize that aspect of them. I think if we criticize them for dressing a certain way and living in the jungle, what are we saying about our people on the continent and around the world, black indigenous people who never embraced the modern society, you know. So some people will say, oh, well, they lived in our society, so they know how to go about um, certain aspects of their daily lives um, in a more modernized way, right? But the thing is, um, I don't think that should be the measuring stick, right? I don't think that should be the measuring stick because it's a slippery slope to critique them just on the basis of living natural, you know. And many of the people who are criticizing them, they also live natural. They also grow dreadlocks. And many people who are criticizing them also would have liked the opportunity to live in that type of arrangement. But the problem is not having the proper funding, not having the proper structure, um, rules and regulations. Basically, they setting themselves up for a cult-like atmosphere. If there is a code of conduct, it should be collectively decided and collectively maintained. Okay, there should be a plan to monetize it beyond videos. Okay, merchandise, um, an actual agricultural crop. Because if you live on a reserve of land, there should be some type of agricultural crop that you can say that you and your community are producing in order to have a self-sustained um, community, right? So I mean, I didn't really plan this video. It was just a lot of thoughts floating around in my mind related to this issue because on one hand, um, when there's a justifiable criticism of carbonation, I support it 100%. But instead of completely tearing down the idea of carbonation, I think what we need to do is take a look at the failings, take a look at the areas where there were shortcomings, and try to find a way where there could be a sustainable model. Because in reality, what they are doing is what any Back to Africa group or any naturalist organization would want to do. Okay, I'm a Rastafarian, and we have communities that are similar to carbonation. Many people live on reserves of land in Jamaica and in Africa, in the Bahamas, where we choose to live according to our principles. We don't eat meat. We don't want to have people come in there roasting a pig or frying chicken or anything. We want to have a preserve of land where we can observe our dietary laws without pollution, without contamination. You see, so I can identify with them in some ways. But the problem is when you have one individual trying to perpetuate themselves as the end all be all, that's the problem. Because there's nothing wrong with a person being a spirit guide, right? It's nothing wrong with a person imparting wisdom. But if you are imparting wisdom, you have to have humility, kindness, and patience, and the foresight to divest yourself of some authority as time goes by. Empower some people with authority to carry out various functions, and to and I mean I see I see he did it by giving people a platform to have like these husband and wife vlog series, which was good, and I think it's still good. But I just would hope that at some point um, they can either clean up their act before the whole thing comes crashing down, or you know um, the broader community at large can find a way to try to impart some knowledge to them and get them on the right track. Because I'm not, I don't really call for the destruction of people who have some noble intentions. What I would say is, if you have any noble intentions, it's in your best interest to represent yourself in the best way possible. All right. The troll, the trolls will be trolls, but Just wanted to give my 5 cents. You all let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. One love.